I'd like to welcome all of you to our webinar today, and thank you for taking the time. We'll take about 30 to 45 minutes to just provide a brief overview of our programs and to answer any questions that you may have. So I'm joined here by my colleague, Natalie Barn, who's a program officer on the USA team, and she'll also be here to provide some experience working with fellows and, ways to do the application in a more coherent and comprehensive fashion. So like I said, we'll just provide a brief overview, and after that, we'll go ahead and take your questions. We're also recording the webinar, so if you have to pop out in the middle or step away, we will make this available on our website about 24 hours after the webinar is over. So first of all, we just wanted to give a brief overview about what is Eisenhower Fellowships, what do we do, what's our purpose, and why do we exist? Because this does matter. I mean, it does matter that you have the same philosophy and kind of approach to your professional and personal life as we do. And so that's why I wanted to take a moment to talk about our mission, which is to identify, empower, and connect dynamic change agents, creating a global network of people focused on the values of peace, prosperity, and justice, looking to make positive change in your community, in your country, in your profession, having identified a particular obstacle or issue that you feel is impeding sort of improvement. So that's what we are. We're global, first of all. We're definitely not just a USA program. We run two different sets of programs. The USA program is for U.S. citizens. I know the names can sometimes be confusing. And the global program is for our international citizens. So we have 20 USA fellows per year and 50 international fellows per year. And we have a network of about 55 countries around the world currently, countries from which we select international candidates. We do 25 in the spring and 25 in the fall. And we select 20 U.S. leaders whom we send to one or two of the countries in our network. 10 fellows travel to one or two countries, and then 10 travel exclusively to China. But today's program will really focus on our main USA program, and from which we select the 10 fellows. This is meant to be a transformative experience. It's for people who are really looking to take themselves to the next level of leadership in their profession or in their community. This is not a program for students, not a program for graduate students, and it's really not a program aimed at pure researchers. It's for mid-career professionals, people who are practitioners, who are out there in regular jobs as engineers, journalists, politicians. Sometimes they're university administrators, they could be police, in the military. We're pretty agnostic as to what your profession or your field is. But what we do care about is that you have a track record of accomplishment and are looking to take yourselves to the next level. Maybe your work scope so far has been at the local or community level, and you're looking to expand your network globally to see what kinds of knowledge, connections, experiences you can bring back home from abroad to enrich your own work and to provide greater value to the people whom you serve or the people with whom you work. So those are essentially the kinds of people and attitudes, people who are sort of open-minded, people who are not afraid to sort of get outside their comfort zone and be in a place that may be very different, may be uncomfortable, where you don't really have a context or sort of frame of reference, and you're willing to just sort of take it as it comes and see what you can learn. It's also meant to be a mutually informative experience. This is not just about you going to take information or to gain contacts. It's also about you giving back to those communities where you might visit as an Eisenhower Fellow. You're a representative of your country, your profession, and also of this organization. So that sense of service, of higher purpose and service is really important. As part of our USA fellowships, we have three different sort of branches. One is the USA Fellowship. One is the USA Agriculture Fellowship. Now that is part of the USA Fellowship. It's just one of the 10 slots each year is set aside for an active farmer or rancher. But otherwise, the program is essentially the same. And so then we have 9 slots available for 9 leaders to travel to 1 or 2 countries in our network, exclusive of China. The third program we run is the Zhixing China Eisenhower Fellowship. That has a different set of procedures. It has a different recruitment cycle, different application process. different dates and everything. And those are 10 fellows who travel all at once as a group to China in June of each year. So it'll be June 2018. So if you're interested in travel to China, that is the program you apply to. Otherwise, you would apply to the regular USA Fellowship. So the USA Fellowship, just to give you an overview, is a 5 to 6 week fellowship. You are allowed to choose 1 or 2 countries in the EF network. Those are countries that you propose as part of your application. In collaboration with program staff and with international fellows in those countries that you are approved to visit, you work to create your itinerary, your six weeks of meetings, experiences, site visits, and so forth throughout the 1 or 2 countries. So you get a lot of support from the moment that you're selected. You're assigned a program officer here at Eisenhower Fellowships, as well as a program partner in the country you intend to visit. And the 3 of you as a team sit down, create a research document, you rank it, you create priorities, and from there your itinerary is built. So this is a process that really, while the fellowship itself takes 5 weeks total in the 1 or 2 countries, overall this is a 3 to 4 month commitment from planning to prioritizing to execution as well as travel. And then additionally, there is also the expectation that you will continue to contribute to the Eisenhower Network as a lifelong fellow. Once a fellow, always a fellow. So there are additional opportunities to keep connecting with fellows after your fellowship through regional conferences, through global conferences that are hosted by EF in the United States and countries around the world. And we have 6 USA hubs located across the United States where we have a sort of critical mass of fellows, and they have, once or twice a year they have meetups where you get together and you meet the new fellows who've been selected for that year. You hear from the returning fellows about the fellowship experience, where they went, what it was like, what they learned, what they gained from this experience. So this is not sort of a one-off, oh, I got this big fellowship and thank you so much, guys, and goodbye. No, this is once you're in, you can't get out. So we'll be asking you to contribute to the programs of the Visiting International.
So I think that's kind of
a great way to keep contributing on life, knowledge, and keep engaging as so it's really an incredibly rewarding experience. It's also demanding. We have high expectations, and we have high expectations of you in the application process as well as throughout the fellowship. So as I said, this is really a commitment for 2018. So if this is something, you have to think, I think, seriously about whether you can really spend the time on planning, on connecting with the staff here at EF. You're also required to attend an opening seminar as well as a closing seminar here in Philadelphia, in addition to the fellowship. Those are additional opportunities to connect with other USA fellows, the fellows that travel to China, as well as the Visiting International fellows. So we're constantly trying to find ways to bring these together. But it also does require your proactive want to get the most out of it. Natalie? Yes, everyone turn off your microphones. We do hear a little bit of background noise. So I may do it for you. All right. Thank you, everybody. So moving along. What are the criteria? So I'm going to pass it over to Natalie, and she'll talk a little bit about how we assess you as a potential fellow. Great. So as Jane mentioned, I'm a program officer here in Philadelphia, and I would be one of the 3 team members along with the University Fellow and a local coordinator. And the application process, as Jane mentioned, is very competitive. We're looking for people who have already accomplished a lot in their career already, which is why it's a mid-career. We're looking for folks who have been very thoughtful.
Excuse me. It might be me, but I can't make out what people are saying.
Okay, there may be an issue with our audio, so we'll try and speak up a little bit. Thank you. All right.
Okay, so I'll start again about selection criteria. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, good. Thank you for all the live feedback. So as far as applicants, it's very competitive, not to scare you. We're looking for folks who have already accomplished a lot so far in their career, and that are thoughtful about what they want to gain out of a fellowship. So they have some specific goals, a specific project, which we'll talk about, and that they have the time, as Jane mentioned, to put into preparing for the fellowship, connecting with their own networks, and working with the team of folks both in the country you'll be visiting and in the U.S. To plan your fellowship. And I think I hit everything on the slide, so I'm going to go to the next one. There we go. So the project part, which I mentioned, it's really a way to ground your fellowship in a very specific goal. So what we have found by doing this over a long period of time is that it's very easy to have a lot of very interesting conversations while you're on fellowship, but not have something clear to be able to do with it when you get back. And so we're trying to mitigate that by asking all the fellows to please think through a specific project that they would like the majority of their fellowship to be focused on. So we've had folks in every field. As you know, we're not sector specific. So we've had a lot of different types of projects proposed, and some of those are listed on this slide. So for example, I once worked with a business person who saw a need for employment opportunities for youth in his country, and as a result of that wanted to start a business incubator program. So it didn't relate directly to his own job at all, but it was something he wanted to do as a contribution to his society. And so he came to the U.S., it was an international fellow, and he looked at incubators and academic programs that are focused on entrepreneurship and funding for entrepreneurs and kind of the full scope of what it takes to develop an incubator. So that's just an example. And then there are other examples that are listed here. Again, it doesn't have to be, and we often prefer that it's not related to your day-to-day business. Certainly we want it to be contributing to more than your business. We want it to be making a real contribution to society. And so that's important. And then really just thinking about how you would move your project forward in your fellowship and what the outcomes might be as a result. We want you to be able to articulate it very clearly and succinctly. And that's important for you and for us to understand it, but also for the people that you meet with. So it's really important part of the project. On the application, if you may have seen this already, that you are asked to put in a sample program design. And basically this is a starting point for your potential fellowship. It's asking you to think about, if you are awarded a fellowship to the countries that you propose, who would you like to see and why and where are they? So it will require you to do some research into who the experts are in your topic in that country and to be thoughtful about what you would want to talk to them about. And this should be very tied to the project that you articulate in your application as well. And as I said, this is really a starting point. We will actually use this. If you are selected, it will be a starting point for further research. And so this is a taste of the work that you'll need to be doing if you are awarded a fellowship, in which additional research like this will need to be done by you, by your program officer, and by your in-country coordinator. So you'll work together as a team to develop a program that makes most sense. And typically that starts with brainstorming and is narrowed down there, but then by priorities and logistics. Important really that obviously this project or initiative is really the core of your application, and so I think would recommend you really take a lot of time to think through it, right? Because everything is built based on this idea, this focus, this thing that you want to advance. And as Natalie mentioned, it could be something new, a businessman creating this incubator for social enterprises. The problem that he's solving is employment issues for youth, not having a lot of employment, opportunities. So entrepreneurship is therefore the solution and the way forward to provide benefit to society. And it's something that, came from him personally as well. But it also could be, doesn't have to be something new. A lot of people have projects or initiatives that are basically them scaling up or broadening the impact of an existing project, which could be something that is a subset of your organization or the organization itself. So there's different ways to structure the project, but it must be clearly articulated. It must be understandable. It must have a positive social impact. And we'd like you to see that vision, all of that kind of presented
through the application. Sorry about the audio here. We'll try and fix it. Whoops. So moving on. Here are a few examples of USA Fellows. So somebody could mute their microphone, by the way. Yeah. So these are 4 examples. So what makes an Eisenhower Fellow special? We have 4 here. We have Kelly Pollack. She's executive director of the Center for Creative Arts called COCA in St. Louis, Missouri. She's an accomplished nonprofit executive. What she chose to do on her fellowship to Brazil, and then she also went to Ireland and Northern Ireland. And what she did was she looked at art as a way of bridging conflict, creating a more inclusive society. I mean, obviously someone coming from St. Louis is going to be focused on, issues of race, issues of class, issues of people being excluded in different ways, and seeing arts as a way to bring people together, to have conversations, create tolerance, to create more inclusion across different divides that separate us, whether it's class, race, ethnicity, and so forth. So she went to obviously a place that was very relevant, Northern Ireland, a place where there was obviously a war zone that's healing in many ways. And then she also went to Brazil, a place that's extremely rich for arts and culture, but also is in many ways a divided society, highly unequal economically, right? There's large favelas, these slum areas. And so she looked at different arts organizations, whether it was dance, video arts, visual arts, painting, drawing, it could be music, because her organization encompasses all of these arts. So through this fellowship to Northern Ireland and Ireland as well as Brazil, she's trying to build a model for how she can use her organization in COCA to heal some of the wounds in St. Louis. Another fellow we have right below her is Dr. Fugla. He's a new fellow for 2017. He's from San Francisco. And he is a trained physician. He's a practicing family physician. He works in a hospital. And he also founded this organization called the HEAL Initiative that works to bring all sorts of healthcare practitioners from the United States, whether you're a nurse, doctor, any other kind of healthcare provider. It doesn't have to be the highest level, and sends them to countries around the world. He sends them to Native American reservations in the United States, as well as countries like Malaysia, South Africa, I think India as well. And the idea is to create bridges between healthcare providers in third world countries where you have a lot of diseases that don't exist in the United States, or that are for which treatments are not readily accessible. And so what he's trying to do is create bridges to provide healthcare solutions that are locally responsive. So what he's doing through his fellowship project is advancing and scaling up the HEAL Initiative. So the other 2 fellows, we have Sharina Edwards, from Chicago. She's with the Illinois Commerce Commission. Essentially, they regulate public utilities in the state of Illinois. She's interested in women's leadership in the energy sector, the ways to promote it, support it, create mentorship programs. She'll be going to Australia and Brazil, 2 areas that she found very relevant for this topic. And Catherine Finney is well known for helping to bring in more minority and women entrepreneurs into this digital and tech revolution that is heavily male, heavily white. I think we all know that. So she's really leading a revolution and providing a platform, and again was looking at ways to scale up her enterprise, learn lessons from Thailand and Indonesia. So these are 4 people who had, I think, a very special purpose. They're committed to something beyond their day-to-day job, and they're trying to take it to the next level. And I think for that reason, we found them to be very compelling applicants. So here's the 2018 application cycle. It's an overview. From March until June, we're accepting all applications on a rolling basis. Please feel free to hit the submit button at any time. However, we probably won't be getting to your application until June. Let's be frank. From June until July 15th, we're going to be reviewing all applications we received. Some people may receive a phone interview as a follow-up. We'll have some questions looking to clarify what you want to do, figure out, I like this person, but maybe I have some doubts. Not sure, I'd like to probe, go a little deeper. Not everyone will be phone interviewed. Some people will not. They'll go straight to the finalist round. Some people will not be phone interviewed at all, and some will get a call. So just be patient. Your time will come. Between July and September, we hold the in-person interviews for the finalists. We hold them in our 6 USA hubs. As you can see, Philadelphia, Raleigh, Durham, Boston, Chicago, St. Louis, or San Francisco. You're invited to participate usually in the hub that you live closest to. We pay for your economy class, round trip, airfare, train fare, bus, whatever it takes to get you there if you're a finalist. Around September 15th, we'll announce our selections for 2018. So on our website, you can access the online application. There's a link there. There's also, I would have you look at something we created. There's something you can download, a PDF. It's called Guidelines and Tips for Applying, and it sort of takes you a little bit through the application itself, question by question, so that to provide you a little guidance as to maybe length of answers and so forth. And like I said, the Zhuxing program has a different timeline and process, so that'll be starting up in May, and we'll do a separate webinar at that time if that's interested. At this point, I think we really don't have anything else to add. We're just going to open it up for anybody to have a question. So if you have a question, unmute yourself, put it out there, and then ask your question. All right. Well, thank you again, everybody.
Thank you so much for your remarks. This is Lisette Garcia in Washington, D.C., and hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I really had some questions about the interrelationship with our experience level to the project, the proposed project. Obviously, you said at the outset that we didn't want to see projects that were super closely tied to our field of expertise. But on the other hand, it seemed like two of them did draw on their day-to-day experiences to sort of dive in deeper into their area of passion. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Look, it can be either. I think we're pretty open to whether it's closely tied to your work experience or if it's sort of a standalone thing that's kind of parallel. It's unusual that someone picks a project that's totally unrelated to what they're doing. You know, it's usually something they've been involved in on the side for a long time. So I would just pick what feels natural to you, for which you have a passion, for which you believe has value, and which you think you can actually do. You know, that's the other thing we look at in the application. Lots of people have great ideas. They make these incredible proposals, but we sort of say, are you the person to do this? Are you going to be able to leverage the networks that you have or the networks we can give you access to, the knowledge and so forth to get this done? Do we think that your track record of accomplishment as a leader demonstrates that you can move forward, that you can take this thing ahead? So I would think about those issues and worry less about how closely it's connected to your job. It's really, like I said, we're kind of open to whether it is or isn't, so it's really up to the quality of the proposal. Natalie, do you want to go ahead? We got one via the chat. You can also submit them via chat. Want to take this one, Natalie?
Yeah. So Sarah asked us, for USA Fellows, do projects need to primarily benefit their local and or U.S.-based community? May a project primarily benefit an overseas community? That's a little bit tricky. I think that comes back to Jane's comment about your ability to affect it. Having worked overseas myself and in the U.S., with trying to have an impact over the seas, I found it quite difficult to actually do that sitting here in the U.S. So I think the issue there will come down to whether we believe that you can impact it. So I think it's just common sense that working in the community you're trying to impact you may have a higher probability of achieving your goals than if you're trying to do it from afar. So I would say it doesn't rule it out, but I think we would look very closely at the efficiency of what you're trying to do and your ability to actually get it done if you're doing it remotely. I would agree. Next, anybody else have a question?
Hi, this is Sarah again. I have a second question. As an applicant outside of one of your hubs, I wondered if you have any recommendations specifically for those of us who may live outside of one of your hubs. Is it likely that?
Of course. You know, Sarah, it's a great question, and we should just clarify. Of course, we have the hubs. That's really how we built the USA program in the early days, and yes, we are expanding our hubs, but it does not exclude, if you don't live in the hub city, that's perfectly fine. We have a national recruitment or application. Wherever you are from, we are welcome to your application. You're considered equally. There's no favoritism. It's just we use the hubs to help us sort of logistically manage a nationwide process.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's take the age here. Another question about mid-career. What does that mean? So we have a guideline of 32 to 45.
You know, I would say it's not absolutely strict, but the further outside of that you are, the more carefully we're going to scrutinize your application. So that is our sweet spot. That is where we have found we can be most effective. So we're reticent to go too far outside of that. But, you know, that doesn't mean it's impossible.
Jane and Natalie, this is Matt Kopak from Durham, North Carolina. I was reading in the online program a bit about the dates of travel, and it sounds like it's fairly flexible when in the 2018 calendar year a fellow would travel. Could you talk more about that, and also about the times of the year when the fellows come together at fixed dates and times?
Sure. So generally it is flexible, your timing for travel. It all needs to be kind of worked out. So we need to work out with your schedule, with the coordinator in the country, their schedule, and with the holiday schedule of the place you're visiting, and that can really make a big difference. I have a fellow going to Israel right now, and we were scheduling in between the high holy days there. So I would say those are factors. We prefer that fellows travel by the end of November so that we're not getting into holiday season again for logistical purposes and for management purposes. And if you go to two countries, you're able to split your travel into 2 trips, although we only financially support one of your international flights. And then as for times that you need to be in Philadelphia, you will have an opening in the spring in April, sometime in April. It'll be 3 or 4 days in April. And then the following year, after you're done your travel, you will have a closing seminar in Philadelphia again in May. And that is where there'll be our kind of annual day, our meeting with our chairman. A lot of really exciting things happen during that time. And if you're awarded a fellowship, we would get you these dates right away so that you can make sure to hold them on your calendar and that there's no confusion later. Question in the chat here.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Is financial support for fellows a government per diem rate for the area they have visit, along with airfares or anything else covered? Yeah, essentially that's what it is. We calculate, we use the State Department foreign per diem rates as a base to provide you with meals and incidentals. And then they also cap out hotels, which we cover and we take care of and we choose. You shouldn't have to put out any of your own money for the fellowship, and I don't want to call it a fully funded fellowship in the sense that there may be some extraneous costs that you may choose to incur, such as, I don't know, global data or on your cell phone that's convenient for you. But yeah, essentially we will cover all hotels. We provide you the per diems in advance so that you don't have to put out money on your own. For meals and incidentals, local travel, essentially. If there's need for interpretation, we cover that. We cover local, like in-country, domestic travel, trains, local airplanes, and so forth. And yes, economy class, international airfare, one round trip ticket. Because obviously in a way, it makes more sense to do the fellowship in one shot, but we understand that for personal, professional reasons, many people do prefer to break it into 2 trips, but it's something to think about, not something to think about. Okay, next question here is, your spouse is unable to travel with you. Can a parent be your travel companion? No, that's no children, not really parents. I mean, we have in the past offered some financial support for the travel for a spouse to accompany you for between 14 to 21 days. I'm not going to promise that will be available 100% in 2018, although that has been what we customarily do. But you can't swap people out. It can't be, oh, I don't have a spouse, so I want to bring my sister, or my wife can, or my husband can't come, so it can be my mom or dad. No, it's not something you can swap, let's just say. That's all I have to say on that. It's kind of an unusual question. How long should the fellowship be? Well, we do provide, people are asking about the application length. If you look at those tips I was referring to on our main application page, there are proposed word counts. So just use those as a guideline for how long you want each application answer to be.
in Word. It is, I thought I was asking about whether the application we had put as a sample on the page to be in Word as opposed to PDF. I thought it was, but we'll make it possible. Yeah, that's an easy fix. Just give us, 24 hours. Yeah, okay, Natalie, next question. I hope they'll answer it right. There was a question about if you apply to the USA Fellowship and you are not a finalist, could you also apply to the China Fellowship? And the answer is yes, you can. Their timing is staggered, so that is possible. I would ask that all of you consider the China Fellowship. Is a different fellowship. You can read about it on the website. There are some advantages to it. It's a cohort fellowship where you travel with a group of fellows. You aren't necessarily with them the whole time because you have individualized itineraries, but you do have that cohort experience, which you don't have in the traditional USA program. And depending on your topic area, if China is of high interest to you, it's an excellent program. So we always ask everybody to please consider both and apply for the one you think makes the most sense, given your goals. And then, but you can, if you apply to the regular USA program and it doesn't work out, you can also apply. Okay, Adam has a question. Although 2017 fellows have profiles online, is there a repository of past projects that's available for review? Well, the short answer is no. There's not a repository. It's a good question. It's not something that we're putting together. We are in the process of trying to create a standalone web page that addresses this. So for now, no. I mean, you could look at this slide here where I gave some examples, but these are sort of, I think, some of the best examples, but they're not exclusive. You could look, if you look at other fellows, if you just sort of look at the USA directory that is on the website and you just said, okay, I'm going to look for fellows from DC or fellows from San Francisco, you should be able to find profiles of all past fellows as well. So that can also help give you guidance as to the kind of focus areas that fellows have pursued. But as Natalie and I have both said, it shouldn't, because you don't see your particular topic, represented on the website, doesn't mean that we wouldn't exclude it. Actually, we're always looking to diversify and broaden the kinds of people, organizations, and projects that are represented. So, the more the merrier. We're really looking to see what kind of original thinking you have. Is pretty detailed about SIM cards in country for local communications. So I'll just give a high-level answer, and that is that we will make sure that you're able to do basic communications while you are on fellowship, and we will support you financially. Yeah, I mean, it's different. Each person has a different preference for how they wish to stay connected. There's systems in different countries, so it really depends on where you're going and what options are. And like Kevin said, we can offer support for these kind of smaller. We're just looking to see if we missed any questions, but feel free to go ahead if you have more.
I do have one question. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So in the case that, let's say, your proposal is not accepted this year, do we get feedback about opportunities of reapplying with modification for the following year? Sorry, you're breaking up. I can't hear you.
It's difficult. I don't know if this helps, but then it disconnects my slide. It's difficult to provide individual feedback. So my short answer is no. I think that we could provide general feedback, but providing feedback to every individual is just not possible from a human resource standpoint, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, what if towards the end, let's say you're a finalist in-person interview candidate?
If you're a finalist,
let's say let's say you're towards the end of the process and they find value in your project, but for whatever reason, there's a limited number. If you're, let's say, their 21st candidate, for instance, is there encouragement to reapply?
Yes, if we think that you have a promising project, promising application, but we weren't able to select you this year, if we think you should reapply, we would indicate that to you. And we may or may not provide specific feedback. If you're the 21st out of 20, I mean, that, it's the differences at that point. You know how it is when you're applying to Harvard or Yale. Like, what's the difference between one student or another? There's a lot of internal considerations. There's a lot of external considerations. There's considerations of what your topic is. We're trying to create sort of interesting groups of people, of the 20 fellows. So it may not have anything to do with the quality of your application. It may just have to do with the fact that somebody else had a very similar idea or something else. Things are hard to parse out. So I'm loath to provide any kind or promise to provide any individual feedback. I just wanted to finish what I was saying about the country selection, because I do think this is another key area, which is just think hard, do some research about your countries that you're proposing, and have like a plan B. As Natalie said, there may be, it may not be possible to send you to Sweden because maybe 3 other people want to go to Sweden, and our network, our staff here can't sustain three fellowships in 1 year. Or there may be, we may have a sort of a suggestion for a better country that we think, based on our network and our experience, work for you. So be flexible, have a plan A, but maybe a plan B that you're also open to. Flexibility is key when you're in this kind of program. So any other questions? All right, well, I think if there's no other questions, we're going to sort of call it a day. But thank you all for participating, for asking all these questions. As I said, there is additional information in the teaching guidelines on the website, and I just encourage you to take your time. As Natalie said, we want something thoughtful, we want something considered, and original, but also realistic. The goal to save the world is a big one, so sort of break it down to the part that you can help contribute to and be positive about. So thank you again, and we look forward to receiving all of your applications. Now, have a great day.